fantastic to see so many people here. We're going to have a bit of participation, some polls throughout the session, and a bit of a chance at the end for some questions, a bit of feedback then. So I'm going to kick off here. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is David Jackson. I'm an executive coach with APAC Academy. I've been working in and around MSPs for about 18 years. I started with running my own MSP in Melbourne about 18 years ago. Sold that about 7 years in, continued on with operations, and I've been doing coaching and consulting for MSPs for about 9 years. Today, we're covering at a very high level, what is managed services, some important bits about the mindset that you have as an owner, where MSPs are sitting in an evolving market, and what's changing in the industry, how we make that leap, and some tactical tips about moving across the chasm into becoming an MSP or a TSP, whatever our wording is around that, and then a few more next steps we have around some content from APAC Academy. So here we are. What is managed services and what is an MSP? So at a very high level, there's 4 areas of things that we generally can sell. Let me just find the handy laser pointer thing. There it is. So one-time sales, hopefully everyone's familiar with this. I sell a server, I sell a desktop, I sell a box copy of Windows or Office. It's a one-time sale, I make some money, I have to wait for someone to come by again to sell them something else. One-time labor, similar. Somebody walks in or calls up, says this is broken, please help me, and you do the work. Industry is moving recently, recurring sales. We're now doing 365 or connectivity or VoIP or a bunch of other tools and things that we sell, where we're doing that sale, but we're getting that money every month or every quarter. So the recurring sales is, again, fairly low margin. And if you've got some of the automation around doing the billing, you're making that money ongoing without having to make that sale month after month. Most people figure that recurring sales is better than one-time sales. Again, asterisk, as long as you've got the systems in place to manage the billing and the management of that. And then the bottom corner is recurring labor. So this is where the contract agreement you have with the customer, whether it's a recurring visit, will come every month and do X, Y, and Z, or if you are actually doing managed services, that's where that would sit. So we're going to jump in just to make sure everyone's awake. Very quick poll, and this should show up in the chat. And I think it'll show up as 2 boxes. One will be the question, and then the second will be the answer for everyone. So it'd be fantastic to hear, in your business, at the moment, what do you mostly sell? What's the majority of your sales? And I'm still trying to find the results, so let's see what we have. Here we are, 18 people, fantastic. Excellent. So I think we've got 45, 50. Yeah, fantastic. So we'll keep that open if you're bored. But at the moment, it looks like our numbers are more than half of our participants are doing recurring labor, which is fantastic. And a lot of people are doing recurring sales. Excellent. So I've got some, these seem a little flippant, but some of them, we've actually had quite a few conversations in Academy team about what it actually means to be doing managed services. So does selling monthly 365 licenses make you an MSP? Do you have to offer all you can eat or a flat fee plan to be doing managed services? Do you have to only offer managed services to be an MSP? Is unlimited break fix the same thing as managed services? Do you have to cover everything to be offering managed services? And do you need a lot of tools and subscriptions to be an MSP? So pop that poll open as well. What do you actually need? What makes managed services managed services? Is that poll? All right, there it is. And this is multiple choice.
As in you can choose all or some of the items, you can choose multiples of them. Okay, so it looks like we've got, very close. Proactive services with 21%. You guys should be able to see the results in the chat as well. 21% of you said proactive services makes an MSP, and 20% said contracts, with 18% saying monthly billing. So that's, it's a pretty close split, really, between what the the key to being a managed service is. Let's see what David has to say about that.
Only 2 people thought just wanted to call yourself one was the answer. That's a shame, but no. No, that's some interesting answers. Pretty much the answer to every question I had before is no. You can be an MSP. Selling licenses doesn't make you an MSP. You don't have to offer all you can eat. You don't have to only do managed services. You don't have to cover everything. You don't have to have a lot of tools. The one main distinguishing factor that separates managed services from unlimited break fix or from showing up every month and doing the work is doing that proactive work. Is taking that responsibility for what is happening in that client environment, owning the resolution. So there is a difference here between, there's a difference here between you have a client who has a server and it falls over every night at 2 a.m. You can jump on every day, boot it back up, fix it, keep it running. The difference between unlimited break fix or doing it as a break fix is that you may just turn around and say, well, it's broken, I fixed it. Every day you just do the same job. The managed services mindset takes that and says, okay, well, this has happened 2 times, 3 times now. There's a bit of a pattern. Let's dig a bit more. Let's try and work out why it's happened. Maybe you can resolve it, maybe you can't, but you take that back to the client maybe and you'd say, this server needs this upgrade or there's an issue here. This X, Y, and Z needs to be done. It doesn't mean you have to cover all of that, your future work for free. You might quote it up as a project to fix it, but the difference being owning the resolution and doing that proactive work in advance. So these very high level here, what are some of the benefits of managed services for an MSP? Hopefully this is fairly familiar for most people. Having monthly contracts means you have reliable income. It incentivizes you and your team to be doing proactive work rather than reactive. Allows you to sell on value, not price. The customer's less likely to leave, and with the right automation tools, if you use them, you can do more for the client. From the client side, same thing in the opposite. Having that monthly contract is predictable cost for the client. There's more reliable and better performing environment because you're doing some of the proactive work. You're paying attention to what's going on, and you're both incentivized for for uptime is a goal for you and for your client. Speed of resolution, again, using the right tools, you're able to do remote support. You don't have to wait to schedule a call out. Again, hopefully this is fairly straightforward. And then again, enhanced security and monitoring, because somebody, you, is looking at the systems and reviewing the state of things. There is a bit more to managed services than just doing proactive work. We're not really going to, we'll go into some of these, but there are other things, of course, to think about. Where you focus, do you focus on technology or on the business needs? How you manage your scope, how you manage exclusions, contracts, discussions about risk, the breadth of skill you need as a team, SLAs, if you're offering them, how you manage them, what's reasonable there, what sort of proactive preventative work you're doing, pricing and packaging, and how you present that value rather than your effort to the client. Which brings us to our second section. A lot of what we get here is that hopefully at this point, everyone knows managed services. You've seen 1,000 articles and things about what it is. I think the piece that's different again is that proactive, but a lot of it comes from you as an owner or as a in the leadership team about where you have your direction and where you're taking this. So very quickly, just so I can make sure I'm positioning this well, what's your role in your business? I know we had quite a range of people here, some small, some big. So if we can just do this poll really quickly, please.
But the results are in there now with the majority in the leadership team. Lyndon's just pointed out that this could be multiple owners, particularly, could be wearing multiple hats. So we maybe should have made that as an option for that poll to be, are you all of the above?
I'm assuming most owners are all of the above. So, but we have 65% something team. So okay, that's fantastic. So that's good. A lot of what we're looking at here is things that are actually in your control. So I have some good news and some not so good news about being the owner. The good news is you can choose the future direction of your business, and you actually have more control than you think. I know speaking to a lot of partners at an event recently, and some of them were feeling very stuck. They're like, oh, we're in this model. We're not really sure we like it. We don't see how we can change. We've underpriced our services. We're not profitable, and we can't kind of get out of that. And the thing I would say to that is you do actually have more control maybe than you think. You do have control in your pricing. You do have control in your choice of clients, in your target market. Your most annoying, unprofitable client, you have control to say, we don't want to work with you. Or you put the price up to a price that you're happy with, and they get to choose if they stay or leave. So it is a little flippant, but there is more in your control perhaps than you think. The not so good news is it's now on you to make the right decisions to get to what you're aiming for. And it's tough. It's tough to do that planning. It's tough to stay on track. And the other point is that not making a decision is also a decision. So sticking with what you've got and hoping that things will change or it'll get profitable by itself, probably isn't going to happen. And the other big thing is that, and a lot of people on the call have come from an engineer technical background. If you've come from that background, it can be very hard to change that focus, to change that default way of working, which is I'm an engineer, I will find a technical problem or a technical solution to this problem. And we're going to talk a bit more about the change in context. And unfortunately, that technical first solution is not necessarily what's needed in the market today. So what else do we need to do to succeed with managed services? We've spoken about responsibility and the proactive, but I would say probably the two largest things is about focusing on communication, about being overly good at communication. And I say that coming from the technical point of view. If you can be a better communicator than most of your peers or your competitors, that is already a value prop. That is already a difference in your business. Try not to be too technical. Make sure that you discuss expectations and deliverables up front. The clients are not going to understand as much as you understand about it. Make sure they understand, particularly around this project is always going to deliver X, Y, and Z. And we're all probably aware of IT time. My wife no longer trusts my estimates of how long it's going to be before I finish work or I'm back for dinner. It's 5 more minutes of IT time. She counts that as about an hour. So how long is the server going to be down? How long is the project going to take? 3 days. Okay, 3 days IT time. We need to translate that back to what the business and our clients actually expect. The second is focusing on your customer and looking at where they're coming from. The market is changing. It's no longer a technology first. Probably 20 years ago, 10 years ago, technology was much more erratic, and it was a lot more, we have to make it work. It was very technology first. Now a lot of that is out of our hands. It's working a lot better. A lot of basic issues just don't happen anymore that we would have spent a lot of time fixing 10 years ago. So we now need to, again, talk to where our clients are at. So solving the users' problems and business problems, having that big picture view, doing the advice and the strategy, and possibly offering that 360-degree responsibility where you could take responsibility for an entire element of something rather than just being, I only do this and pass the buck and don't, with some of what I had with my team, we maybe don't support that technology or that service, but we support the customer with that. So we don't support that internet connection or that firewall, but we'll help you to get the help you need to get that working. Excuse me. A few other areas, of course, service level agreements we haven't spoken about yet, contracts and tools. These are also big bits that a lot of people say are necessary for managed services. But from a mindset point of view, I would say communication. So what is changing in managed services? What's changing in technology and business? The short answer is lots. And so, again, this is from working with a lot of clients. But there's quite a few trends affecting the market. And I've got 6 here that I want to talk about quickly. Sorry, I'm just dying quietly here. All right, I'm back. So yeah, 6 trends that are affecting the industry right now. First of all, changing security needs, increased insurance requirements, changing support requirements, commoditization of support, mergers and acquisitions, and as our head of academy says, the great margin squeeze. So we'll look at these in a bit more detail. I don't think we can do hands up, but if I was in a room, I'd say hands up if anyone's noticed that cybersecurity threats are up. Things are very different now than 5 years ago, 10, 15 years ago around cybersecurity. It's no longer, yeah, we've got a firewall, we've got AV, we'll be fine. It is very different risk landscape than it used to be. Oh, thanks, Lisa, for finding your hand. Appreciate that. There's regulations are coming. If they're not here yet, we are going to start to become a more regulated industry. Different governments will move at different speeds, but the government regulations are going to come in place, and it's probably going to come in line with the increased insurance requirements. From an insurance point of view, there's a lot more expectations now as a outsourced IT provider. We're now expected to be able to manage a lot of things around that security. We need to have defensible security posture and capabilities for ourselves and for our clients. We need incident response and recovery capabilities. And moving forward, we're probably going to start needing some certification and compliance. Some insurance companies were talking about ISO 27001 compliance. That can be an 18-month process to get that done, and it's not cheap. We're also seeing changes in support requirements. Lots of SMBs are cloud first, work from home, work from anywhere. The technology more or less works. I go and buy a computer from down the road. I log into my Microsoft, my cloud stuff works, my Dropbox works. What do I need IT for? And so it's about enablement. It's about solving the business needs. It's about putting the right tools together for them so that they've got that rather than just actually connecting to the server work or the VPN work or remote access for your email, which used to be where we spent our time. We're also seeing that a lot of clients don't just want email and phone support. They're not necessarily working the same hours or the same time zone. And some of them want chat, some of them want to be able to book a time to get a call back. We're also seeing commoditization of MSPs and support. Tied together with that support requirements, most issues these days are maybe 70% from some estimates are basic level 1 issues, email issues, connectivity, login issues. We're in a market where larger MSPs can provide that scalable support at a much lower price. There's a much higher reliance on 365. And apart from it occasionally going down, not very much of 365 breaks, not as badly as our own servers would break. We're also seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So one trend we're seeing in the industry, it's a generation of owners, 40, 50 years old, give or take, who are looking to sell. Maybe they don't really have a plan for it. They're not really moving towards it, but they've got a plan. They're just kind of like, oh, I want to get out of this game at some point. And that's great if you work towards it. But if you're in a break fix model, there's nothing really to sell. Even if you've got 5, 10 staff, you've got to think about what there is value-wise in the business to be able to get some of that value. We're also seeing a lot of consolidation of mid-sized MSPs, a lot of small ones getting snapped up, either just for they're snapped up, but maybe cheaper than you'd like if you're on the selling side, to get either technical resources or just to buy growth. But there is also a lot of external money coming in, and some of the bigger players are still moving in as well. And then finally, the great margin squeeze. So the main thing I hear from IT providers is they don't put their prices up enough. I put my prices up 2 years ago, that should be okay. But salaries have doubled, 50% increase at least. Insurance 3 to 5 times higher. Tools at 10%, 30% higher. If you're not raising your prices and all of your costs are going up, it's not you're not in a profitable position and you're going to get stuck. So there's 6 6 trends that we're seeing: the security, change in security, the insurance requirements, support requirements, commoditization of the support, M&A, and the margin issues. So a question for you: do you see which of these or other are you seeing as one of the biggest disruptions at the moment? So we'll wait a few more minutes. We've got less responses than we usually do. So we're seeing a lot of people seeing the security landscape changing as the biggest one, commoditization of support and the margin squeeze. All right, so if we have time at the end, I'm not sure how my timing's going so far, but if we have time at the end, we can dig into some of these in a bit more detail as well if we're interested. So I'm going to keep moving this one. Yeah. All right. So some questions, I guess, again, what's actually required to deliver managed services? If you come out and go, I'm going to deliver, this is what gold standard managed services look like. Can you do that as a one-man band or a two-man band? Can you deliver the SLAs? Do you have the breadth of skill? Have you got time to do all the maintenance? Have you got time to focus on the business? Is that possible? Previously, we focused on hardware and technology. We offered help desk. We maybe did a bit of patching, a bit of maintenance, a bit of monitoring. Is that still relevant? Can we do that in a high cyber risk where we need to be managing, where we're like SOC SIEM, where you're maybe actually doing monitoring of every firewall or every device and thousands of alerts are coming in? It's not something you can do yourself. But again, technology focused offerings are maybe not as relevant now, where most clients perhaps don't have a server anymore, and our labor is costing more. And something else that a few people were talking about at the last event I was at, are we too late to the party? Are you late to the MSP party? Maybe. The answer is probably not. But if you take MSP V1, then yes, I would say you are. And I would say that deciding to, looking to where the puck is going to be and preparing around that is going to give you some better outcomes. So there's a lot of services and outcomes needed by customers, and we can forecast a bit of what they need now and what they'll need in the future, and we can look around how we can offer those needs. Just to one point I saw in the chat that it's tricky to pivot into doing SOC, being a security operations center. It is. It's something that you can outsource for a while. You can get a SOC, SOC as a service to start with. It may also be something you decide, this is where we're going to be. This is where we see the future. We are going to start to build that capability and capacity. Maybe it is something that you just continue to outsource. It depends on what the value prop is that you have for your clients. And just saying that we have a SOC probably isn't it. If you can get SOC as a service at quite a cheap price from a dozen providers, then doing your own probably doesn't bring value. And this is the same as where we solved data center stuff 10, 15 years ago. Everyone is, I'm going to do my own hosted exchange. I'm going to do my own website hosting, colo, whatever. I'll build my own racks. I'll do it in my own data center. And XDC comes along, does the racks cheaper. Then AWS and Azure come along and do all of that. 365 comes along and does hosting of email much cheaper than you could ever do it. So some things are probably not going to ever be at that scale where we're going to be building a competitor to a SOC as a service. But there's a lot of things around that where it's not just the SOC, but it's how do we manage it? How do we deploy it? What are we monitoring? What is the noise and what is the value, the signal in everything we're looking at? And there's a lot of value in that. And then also, where can we succeed? So making a choice. Again, this is something in your control. So I've got a concept I want to talk about now, which is about, it's called curve jumping, where it sort of looks at how a business or a particular function grows. So any product that you have has a start, it grows. At some point, you've got the most you've got, and it will eventually decline. And at this point, you have two options. You can try and milk it as long as possible, and try and postpone that decline and that death. You can get better at what you're doing, become more efficient, and improve your operations. Think of the best COBOL programmer we have. It's a thing. There's not very many people doing it, and the few that are doing it are probably making okay money. But it's not really where I would say that the future is in terms of how I'm going to decide to become that. But what we often will see in business is that there is another business model, another opportunity, another technology that you can decide to move to. There is a gap. There is always a gap here between where you are now and maybe from having a well-run, highly optimized break-fix business to deciding to change to do managed services. It might involve a loss of clients, a loss of revenue, disruption, more hours, whatever it might be. There is a gap there. But there's also a gap if you wait longer until you've milked the one you're on to the end. It's a much harder gap, much harder change to make. So it's just something I wanted to, this concept of sort of seeing where the growth is in that curve. And we will, this says evolutionary change and revolutionary change, but what we're sort of seeing is you will improve in your business, and then every now and then, and I think now is one of those times, is that you make that decision about where do we move to so that we're starting, that we're setting ourselves up for that future. Does this resonate with anyone? Is that a useful model? I think we can do like a yes, no, Maria. I can't see you anymore. There we are. That was easy. Was that useful? Is that model useful and or interesting?
Sorry, the poll took a little while to launch.
I'm going to say yes because I wrote it. So I'm going to say it was interesting.
100% yes, it resonates.
Fantastic. Okay. So how do we bring some of that mindset, some of that positioning things we were talking about before into effectively this evolving market. And we've spoken about some of these risks. So automation of technical work. Microsoft wants to just take over all the patching, and all you're doing is saying yes or no, and it all gets done. There's a lot more. There's fewer problems. There's more. Yeah, it's just configuration issues. How do we manage that? Maybe we look at AI assisted support. There's tools like Peer or Roost or Tribute or MSP bots that can sit in your PSA if you have one. They can sit there and help your level 1 engineers. Hey, there's a Teams issue, and in Peer you can say, okay, cool, and it will jump on to connect to their machine, clear the cache, restart the client, see if that works. Did that work? No, etc. My email's not working. Log into the mailbox, send a test email, see if it got received, troubleshoot a couple of things. These are the steps you would be doing anyway, but it can be done a lot faster. A couple of dollars per seat for some of these tools. And you still need some staff, but maybe they can give you that multiplier. There's other automation tools, EmiBot to roll out desktops, even dropship machines to a client, get them to plug in a USB key, and it'll connect to the server, set up all the applications, all the correct everything, or use Intune to launch EmiBot, or use Intune by itself. You can have RMM tools. Maybe outsourcing is the way. Maybe instead of doing the technical support, you outsource that. You do the client management, you do the sales, you do the project work, and work with someone else who can help. There's a lot of models. In that commoditization of support, we can focus on that customer experience. Focus on how long does it take you to get back to them? How many emails are you sending? Are you available where they are on the channels they want you? You can streamline processes around standard changes, add users, things like that. There's a change in what the clients are demanding. There's a change in what a standard environment is. And some of the change for you is that becomes business and strategy advisory, applying IT to the business problems. It's supporting, instead of supporting technology, you support the business, the applications and the processes for the business to run. It's the security and risk management conversations that we don't have enough of. How do we manage other players coming in, M&As, consolidation? Build strong relationships with your clients. That stickiness we're talking about. Have a plan for sale or growth or acquisition. This is one of those areas where not having a plan doesn't really work. So for 3 years, what's my plan for the next 3 years? I still want to be doing this job, fantastic. Or I want to get out of it. What do I need to build processes and where I am in the market to enable that? Will I get the money I want? All right, we're going to jump into another chunk of data here. So moving into the future, we are seeing 5 or so viable models for technology solution providers, aka MSPs, but MSP as a terminology is a bit something we use amongst ourselves. I think, again, I'm not going to do a poll, but I think a lot of clients are like, yeah, okay, an MSP is a thing. I don't really know what it is or care. That's maybe not a term that the clients really care about. But as we've kind of looked at over time, 80s to 90s, selling hardware, 90s was on-site break fix, moved to remote break fix, RMMs, PSAs. Everyone's like, this is a great idea. 2010, a lot more fixed price, a lot more managed services, a lot more 365. But the change now, 2020s, is security focused and enablement. So that's sort of the context we're looking at here. So this is our 5 models that we see might be relevant. One second. All right. So 5 models that we see. Again, I'm forecasting. I'm going to say they're coming. Asterisk, I'm forecasting, so they absolutely many. But let's just run with it. So technology brokers who are able to connect the pieces from other suppliers, connect them together for a particular client. Boutique technology service provider who will work with a smaller number of clients, work more deeply with them, solving more, like a smaller group of clients and solving more issues. So a lot more in depth with getting integrated, maybe in a vertical, and being the provider of the software for a doctor's surgery or a dentist or a factory, where you understand that you're solving those business needs in a small number of clients as well as the technology. We're seeing specialist TSPs who might focus on one particular technology. They might do SharePoint, they might do security, they might do firewalls, and they will deliver that. Let me share my next slide. It actually has all this. So you're delivering a particular technology alongside other TSPs. So you're delivering one piece, you know it really well, you do it really well, and a lot of that comes to high price projects. The bottom two are harder to achieve from probably where we are. So a scaled TSP is doing a lot of work developing a standardized stack. They build their solutions, their offerings around minimal changes, minimal customization, and they deliver that to a large client base. You need quite a few resources. There's a lot of standardization there. It's something that we just sort of can't achieve at a small scale. And then a master TSP is a scaled TSP who will offer, and again, this one's more likely to come about depending on the certification and the compliance requirements that come from government and from insurance. But if you can't get a cyber insurance unless you meet X, Y, and Z high-level requirements like ISO 27001 or full compliance and certified compliance with ACSC security requirements, whatever it might be, there's going to be a small number of providers who meet those requirements, who have a certified or a attested infrastructure that they would put out, and then they might make that available to smaller companies who would use that, and would let you would buy infrastructure from them, you'd buy 365 from them, and you would provide help desk and projects and advisory around that. So that's something that might come about if the bar gets set too high in terms of insurance and compliance stuff. There's just a few more notes here about some of the requirements there. I'll let you read that. A lot of smaller companies are going to end up in the technology broker and possibly the boutique, or a combination of both. The specialist TSP, again, we have an audience who's prone to jumping straight to deep technical. So I don't want to say you should go and become a deep specialist in something, but that's a very specific thing. So if you had particular industry experience, if you had particular more than just much more specialist perhaps than we all think we have, I would probably say that specialist TSP and scaled TSP are harder to achieve. Boutique TSP is effectively what we're doing now. It's just being aware of our limitations and knowing that we're focusing more on the breadth and sort of solving everything for a small number of clients. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's something else here, but it's also possibly a hybrid approach. So that's some of our forecasts from Pax8 Academy. So we're getting towards the end, and this is just a bit of tactical advice. So some shortcuts, perhaps, if you're sitting in that I want to move into managed services. I'm doing break fix. I'm not sure where we're up to. So just a couple of quick slides here, and then we're going to, yeah. So I think I spoke about some of these. What we're seeing in terms of successful MSPs is communication, conversations that are about outcomes and risk and value, and not about hours and effort and technology. To be successful at an MSP, this is a bit of a newsflash here, you actually need to make money, which means you need to price things properly. And so it's very not easy. It's very easy to undersell yourself and underprice or undervalue yourself. Be very careful or cautious with discounting. A lot of people will go into a new client or their first client they're trying to get in the model. I'm going to discount this just to buy the client effectively. You can do that, but you're setting your value low. To be successful, particularly if you're doing flat fee managed services, you really need to define your scope. You really need to be clear about what's in and what's out, what you will do and what you won't. Having standards, again, it's okay to define standards. You need to have this, this, and this in order to be supported. It's okay to have those sort of boundaries and have those standards. And also it's a focus on business and strategy and advisory. I think I said this one, standardization, even at a small level, is very helpful. If you have to support every antivirus tool that's available, one client's still running a copy of, Norton that they got off a CD cover from 2002, and others are running other stuff. It doesn't work. Your team gets spread around. So for some stuff, security tools as part of your solution, you can say we are going to provide as part of what we do, antivirus, endpoint protection, mail security. You can have a whole list of stuff. But that standardization drives your efficiency, and it also reduces the support burden when you're looking at the compliance and testing and things like that. This is some kind of earlier tips if you're not there yet. You have to capture your time. I see a lot of clients who did break fix. They captured the time for the jobs they did. Then they went to managed services and they're like, they're not paying any extra. I don't need to track my time anymore. Unfortunately, not quite true. You need to be able to track how much effort you're putting into a contract, into a client, which issues are coming up often, whether that contract is profitable. So we still need to capture that time. You still need to track the jobs. You need some sort of a system. If it's just one person, an Excel spreadsheet can do it. As you get bigger, it might be a PSA, it might be another tool. Another one, make sure you invoice. Particularly if you're doing recurring billing, you need to set up the systems to be able to invoice and make sure you collect. I had one client who the 365 billing got too tricky for two of his clients, so he just hadn't done it. He didn't do it for 18 months, 16 months. He just not forgot, he just kept putting it off because it was complicated. He told them about it. He's like, we're going to bill you at some point. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Here's a PO. And I sat down and I pushed him to do it. We did 2 months worth and it was like $6,000. I'm like, that was 2 months. You'd have 18 months of this. So invoice on time. The client cares about the issues and what you've done for them now. They don't care about it in 6 months or 12 months. You also don't need to do every job in your business. You can find an outsourced bookkeeper. You can find a outsourced lots of things. You don't have to do every job. Some things are not worth the effort of you doing it. And that's actually doubly true for technical work as well. As a business owner, it's very easy to say I'm a technician first and a business owner second, but you probably need to be capping your actual time and the tools to 20, 30, 40%. If you're spending your time on technical, who's running the business, who's dealing with the clients, who's doing the selling, who's doing that business planning. Set correct client expectations. You don't have to have contracts day one, but at some point you will. It's worth spending some money on contracts. We've got some providers we use. I think, what's it called, Maria, the lady in New Zealand? I can't remember. There's a agreements lady who does MSP contracts for Australia, New Zealand.
IT agree.
IT agree. There we are. IT agree. Thanks, Bus.
And thank you. Thank you, Beth.
So yeah, IT agree. It's worth just get the contracts. It's going to cost money. It'll cost money whether you pay a lawyer who doesn't know what they're doing. At some point, you need contracts. You need to be setting those expectations, and particularly in the insurance/cyber/risk world, you need to start setting things up to cover your ass, because client, a snarky lawyer will go through your marketing materials or whatever it is and say, well, you haven't got a contract, but you've got on your website, you say that 100% coverage and you'll be fine. And they'll take that. And yeah, so be cautious. So some small steps. So particularly if you've got clients who are maybe on unlimited break fix, or you're trying to get across into more of this model, a couple of little things. Make sure that you know and the client knows what's in and what's out of scope. Do you cover Windows 7, Windows XP? Do you cover Netgear firewalls? Well, I say firewalls, Netgear modems. Do you cover home licenses, iPhones? What do you cover? If something breaks that they cause, is there any clarity there? So at least internally work out what you cover. Are you making any money? Is another silly question. And that sort of does tie back to the effort and the time that you're spending on each client. At the start, it's okay to be doing a hybrid charging model. You don't have to do all you can eat flat fee. You maybe aren't at a position where you can estimate the risk and the cost of supporting that client. You can put in a hybrid. You can put in a retainer, flat fee amount for a lot of the proactive work, and then a block of hours or some amount that doesn't limit your revenue. So if they do a lot of proactive stuff, some reactive stuff, it's a big one, it's okay. You can have a adjustable block there where you charge for some of that. That's fine. If you've got clients and you're like, okay, these are unprofitable, how do we get our existing clients somewhere profitable? Well, you can just fire them. That's one option. You can just tell them the price is going up. These ones, most people don't like these options. Don't know why. You can also set and say, our current prices are X, $150 a seat. You're currently paying 45. In 12 months, you're going to be on 155. For 6 months, we'll get you halfway. We'll put it up 50%, and in 12 months, it'll go up 100%. So you'll be able to. You have one conversation. You're setting the expectation that this is worth 150. You're a valued customer. That's why you're on the 45. So in a month, it's going to go up to 100, and in 6 months, or for 6 months, and then in 12 months, it's going to go up to 150, something like that. At the very least, put your prices up by at least CPI. If CPI is 5, make it 7. If you put your prices up more than 12 months ago, do it soon. If it was more than 6 months ago, you can probably plan your next one. CPI and managing that, the costs, particularly, like your clients also have salary costs are going up. They understand it. You need to put your prices up or you're not going to be able to support them. Some people will also look at it and become tighter on their exclusions. You need to know what's in and what's out. But if you just start saying, no, that's not covered, I'm going to bill you for that, you've got to be careful because that can sour the relationship with the client. So you can do that. That is a way of managing costs. Maybe not the best choice. And then don't rush into resetting your model. So that was have a think about it, plan for it, and then make a plan to get everyone onto a price and to do that rather than either sit here forever and plan it and never implement it, or jump straight in and then have to mess around with prices again. So there's a couple of things there. I'm going to hand over to Maria for the next steps.
I'm just going to quickly say we had a question from Mike in the chat, and he's asked, are they the dollar figures that you just mentioned, are they real world examples of a per seat price? And what is a solid number to aim for? That's a little bit of a how long is a piece of string question, because we have people from all over Asia Pacific on this call. I think there's a couple of folks from the US as well. And pricing is going to be different, not only in which country you're in, but also which city you're in, whether you're regional, and what services you're including. So the other question that you had there, Mike, was does that include a security option? Security, if you're deep diving MSSP, if you're becoming a security provider, that's obviously a very different price altogether, because that carries a whole lot more risk. So you want to be charging to cover the risk. But a good topic for a future webinar.
Yeah, so quickly on that one, that was a current example. I was working with a client, a regional client in Australia this week. That was some security tools, not heaps, but I don't think it included the mailbox, but it included, EPDR and mail security and backup and a few things, even maybe not backup. And I think there was about 155 for support. So it's Help Desk Plus, the tool set. And I think their tool set monitoring only, and the tool set was, I think, 55. I'm not saying that's good pricing. I'm not suggesting those prices. That was for this client is what they had. So if you're way below those numbers,
was that a per seat or per device?
Per user. Does that help, Mike?
We've seen prices ranging from less than $80 a seat to $300 plus a seat. It comes down to assessing whether you're making money. That's, work out what's making you money, where you're making money, where you're losing money, because there's a high likelihood that there's at least something that's breaking even or potentially losing money. Once you know that detail, that'll help you decide on your pricing. We see so many MSPs who don't actually know where they make money.
I've seen particularly the clients who focus on security and risk and managing risk and position it in that way. Some of them are doing $250 a seat, I think, including licensing. So that'd be an all-in full security stack, $250 to $300, and some of them are saying they're making 70-80% margin. So that's at the top end. We have some who are on legacy pricing, charging $25 for antivirus plus unlimited support. And where that client, the big move for them was getting to 75. And again, it was underpriced, but they tripled their price. We can talk pricing all day. I have a whole 2-hour, 1-hour spiel about setting up a security first model and how you price it and discuss risk and things that we'll have to save for another day.
I'll put it on the list of topics. We'll maybe put out a poll of what people want later down the track. Okay. You're managing the slides, David, so I'll get you to click through to the next slide. I get to do the little spiel to tell you about Academy. As you listen to all this cool content from David, we've still got a bit more to come after this. You've just got me for a couple of minutes. This is our mission statement. Basically, there's 8 of us in the team in Asia Pacific, and our responsibility is to help enable our partners to have better businesses, to enjoy what they do, because I think that is important. I think, having a passion and actually wanting to wake up and do your job every day. So hopefully we can give you the tools to make life easier for you, so it's not such a slog. That's our plan. So meet our partners where they are, what they need to learn, and help them out exactly how they want to learn it. There you go. That's the official wording. Okay, so what's next? We've got a few little resources for you. So we'll skip through to the next slide. I'll put them on individual slides so I can talk through them. Free resource. David has put together a brilliant business plan / focus plan. It's not a full-blown, 20-page business plan. Basically, it'll help you sit and look at what you've got today, where you want to be, what your focus is for this year. January, it's a great time to plan. So we've got that resource. We're going to send that out later today to everyone here. We've got another webinar coming up, another one of these, 9th of February, 10 a.m. again, 10 a.m. Melbourne time, which is where David and I are both based. So Melbourne, Sydney time. If this time is a disastrous time, let us know. We can change things. We can mix them up and have webinars at other times. We figured this is early enough for the New Zealand folk, hopefully late enough for those in Asia, because I know it's a little bit early for you guys. So we might look at pushing it back a little bit. We'll talk about that one. And that content, we have got the content partially done for that. What we've decided to do is we're actually going to take some of the conversations today and some of the requests and anything we don't get to discuss after this, and try and add in some additional content based on what your feedback is. Next up. So next steps in between now and the webinar, obviously we'll give you the focus plan that you can work on and spend some time doing some things. For signed partners, we've got what we call our Elevate LMS. That's our learning management system, and there are thousands of different free courses within our LMS. There's worksheets and courses and all sorts of really great resources. A lot of some of the stuff that we will discuss, that we've been discussing today, there'll be various resources in there for those bits and pieces as well. So well worth jumping on, checking out. If you can't, sorry, David's just pointed out business and technical resources. If you need to get access, speak to your account manager about that. They will help make sure that you're in the LMS and learning, getting more resources to help your business. Then we run courses. We run some peer groups, and I'll be giving you guys a little bit of information on that in a moment. And coaching. So David and I are both coaches in the academy team. We've got multiple other coaches, and we all coach in various areas of our subject matter expertise. Next, please, David. Last one. This is the peer group that I wanted to let you guys know about today. So this is what we're calling our 0 to 1 million peer group. If your business is in that sort of neck of the woods, where we're offering a peer group designed specifically for you, it's kind of a hybrid model. So in the past, peer groups have been seen very much as a peer-to-peer learning. We're running this as a hybrid model. We've got David is actually one of the coaches as part of the team. We've got a number of other subject matter experts as well coming in to assist. And we have designed a program that combines sort of a group coaching model, the peer group, and some of our educational resources as well. And it's all combined. We'll meet weekly and help you grow your business. So that's our exciting news. You guys are the first to hear about this. We are literally launching it as we speak today. So you'll hear a lot more about this from us, and we'll be letting you all know. And if you're interested, we're happy to talk to you about what that looks like.
And I think that started February
Yeah, we're going to start. We're hoping to kick off the first group the first week of February. So if you're keen, that's the first group will be kicking off then. Okay,
Fantastic.
I think that's me, David. You
That's
open. There we go.
Fantastic. So this is a bit of something I learned from another session I attended. The feedback was asking people for one big thing. So it didn't have to be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but just asking for one big thing that was useful from today. So I think I've allowed anyone to talk. Either you, Maria, how do you want to manage this? Do you want to ask people to put their hands up or chat, or just one at a time and work it out? Also, you're muted.
Sorry. Somebody had to be muted on a call. I can turn on everyone's mics and then we can just chat, and if that works.